Welcome to the deep dive. We're not about just skimming the surface here. We really aim to dig in and pull out those key insights that can actually change things for you in life and work.
Exactly. If you're here, you're probably looking for that deeper understanding, right? Knowledge that fuels real growth, but without wading through everything yourself.
Yeah, getting to the core efficiently. And today our mission is, well, it's about unlocking the power inside a really transformative book, one that challenges how we think.
And that book is Think Again by Adam Grant. We're working from excerpts from the audiobook transcript, focusing on this core skill, rethinking. It's about, questioning our assumptions, being more flexible mentally.
Right. And the structure Grant lays out, based on what we've seen, it covers first how we open our own minds, then how we can maybe nudge others to reconsider things.
And finally, building communities, sort of environments where learning is constant, where curiosity thrives.
It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? How often do we actually question the bedrock beliefs, the assumptions driving our choices day in, day out, personally or professionally? It's a big question.
Okay, let's delve deeper into this then,
Yeah.
because the book really drives home why this ability to rethink is just so vital, especially now.
Well, yeah. What's really striking, I think, are the examples Grant uses from the early pandemic, how slow some leaders were to update their thinking.
Oh yeah, like what?
Underestimating how far it could spread, comparing it too lightly to the flu, thinking it only spread if you had obvious symptoms. The book points out the very real human cost of that delayed rethinking.
Absolutely, and it wasn't just leaders, was it? I mean, we all had to rethink everyday stuff.
Totally. Going to the shops, seeing friends, school runs, suddenly everything felt different, riskier.
And things like remote work suddenly becoming the norm for so many. Supply chains too. We were all forced to adapt our thinking constantly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the book also touches on, big societal shifts. Like after instances of police brutality, there was this rapid rethinking around racial injustice.
Yeah, I remember that. Support for movements like Black Lives Matter shot up pretty quickly across the board, didn't it?
It did, a significant shift in a short time.
But it's strange, right? Even with these shared experiences forcing us to rethink, the world feels, more divided in some ways.
Yeah, the book notes that too. Increased polarization. Even symbols like taking a knee can cause huge arguments, people falling out over politics.
So these rigid viewpoints seem to be digging trenches, almost.
Which raises that key question again. If we can rethink, like during the pandemic or in response to social issues, why do we get so stuck sometimes? The book uses this analogy like, the U.S. Constitution can be amended, right? Maybe we need to be more willing to amend our own mental constitutions, our core beliefs.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why is it so hard? Why do we resist updating our own thinking, even when the evidence is shifting under our feet?
Well, this brings us right into that first big part of Grant's framework.
Yeah.
Opening our own minds.
Yeah.
And a huge piece of that is intellectual humility.
Right, humility.
And what's a key insight here is Grant talking about different thinking modes.
Yeah.
He contrasts the scientist mode, which is all about questioning, being curious, changing your mind with new data with others. Like the preacher who's just defending their turf, the prosecutor trying to win arguments, and the politician just seeking approval.
The scientist mode, that sounds like the goal.
Pretty much.
Oh.
And he shares this really cool experiment with Italian startup founders. One group got trained in this scientist approach.
Okay, so how did that work?
They were encouraged to treat their strategies like hypotheses. Customer feedback was data. Their first product was just an experiment,
Right, okay. Testing things out.
And the results, well, they were pretty stark. The scientist founders,
Yeah.
their startups did significantly better. More revenue, more customers. Because they were willing to listen to the evidence. If something wasn't working, they pivoted. They changed course based on the data, not just sticking to their original plans stubbornly.
Huh. That kind of goes against the strong, decisive leader stereotype, doesn't it?
It does. But the book points to research suggesting the best strategists, even in complex simulations, might actually be a bit slow and unsure at first. They value flexibility.
Here's where it gets really interesting. How can we actually encourage that scientist mode in ourselves, day to day?
What's fascinating here is, well, just how practical that experiment makes it seem. Treating our beliefs like theories to test, not like sacred truths. It seems to pay off.
But it's hard. Our brains get in the way, right? Cognitive biases.
Oh, absolutely. The book talks about those. like a desirability bias, basically seeing what you want to see.
Yeah, like ignoring warning signs if you're really invested in something working out.
Exactly. And maybe even trickier is the I'm not biased bias, the feeling that we're objective even if others aren't. And interestingly, the book suggests smarter people might be more prone to that one. They're better at rationalizing their own viewpoints.
Wow. Okay, so intelligence can be a double-edged sword there. It can help us justify our biases instead of overcome them.
It seems like it, yeah.
So what's the antidote then? How do we fight back against these biases?
Well, a big part of it is cultivating what Grant calls actively open-mindedness.
Actively open-minded, what does that mean exactly?
It's not just passively listening to other views. It's deliberately searching for reasons why we might be wrong, not just hunting for evidence that confirms what we already think.
Seeking out the flaws in our own arguments, that sounds uncomfortable.
It can be.
Yeah.
And that leads right into intellectual humility.
Right. Knowing what you don't know.
Precisely. It's not about lacking confidence. It's about having an accurate picture of your knowledge gaps. And that opens the door to doubt, to curiosity.
Makes sense. The book gives examples, right? Like in art or finance.
Yeah, fields where admitting the limits of your expertise is absolutely vital. You can't pretend to know everything.
Yeah, I get that. And the book also mentions the Dunning-Kruger effect, that idea of Mount Stupid.
Right, where people with the least knowledge often have the most confidence, overestimating their competence.
And that really blocks rethinking, obviously.
Totally. The book uses examples like, people confidently stating things that are just wrong, like the U.S. having an official language, or inaccuracies about the Salem witch trials. That overconfidence is a barrier.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about finding that balance. Confident humility, the book calls it.
Exactly. Believing in your abilities, but also being acutely aware of your weaknesses. That combination is powerful.
Because if you know your weaknesses, you're more likely to seek other views, ask for help.
Yeah, and learn more effectively as a result. It's not weakness to say, I don't know, or I might be wrong here. Mm-hmm. It actually fuels learning.
So that kind of humility is actually key for leadership too?
It seems so. The research Grant highlights suggests the best leaders have both confidence and that humility. They know their strengths, but they also know what they don't know, and they're always learning.
Okay, so recognizing our blind spots, it's critical for growing ourselves and for leading effectively.
Absolutely.
Now, let's shift gears a bit to something that sounds weirdly appealing. The idea of finding joy in being wrong.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive, isn't it? The book talks about the totalitarian ego.
Totalitarian ego? What's that?
It's like our internal defense mechanism. When a core belief gets challenged, it can feel like a personal attack, triggering a kind of fight or flight response in our thinking.
Ah, okay. Protecting our worldview at all costs.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And this ties into the overconfidence cycle he describes.
Yeah.
We hang out in filter bubbles, echo chambers.
Right, surrounding ourselves with people and info that just confirm what we already think, which makes it harder to see if we are wrong.
Exactly. It shields incorrect opinions.
So how do we break that? The book has an anecdote about Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel laureate.
Yeah, it's a great little story. Apparently, when presented with research that surprised him, that contradicted his thinking, his reaction wasn't defensiveness, it was enthusiasm.
Really? What did he say?
Something like, that was wonderful, I was wrong. He saw it as progress, an opportunity to become less wrong.
Wow. Okay. So what does this all mean? How do we get to a place where discovering we're wrong isn't painful, but maybe even enjoyable? That feels like a big leap.
Well, this raises an important question. How much of our identity is wrapped up in our specific opinions?
A lot, probably.
Maybe too much sometimes. The book suggests maybe we should define ourselves more by our core values, like curiosity or integrity or excellence, rather than by specific viewpoints or beliefs.
Ah, I see. So if my value is learning, then being wrong isn't an attack on me, it's just part of the learning process.
Exactly. It frees you up to be more open-minded about the best way to live up to those values. It's less threatening.
That makes a lot of sense. There's also this idea of the Yoda effect, unlearning.
Right. Sometimes moving forward means letting go of old ideas, outdated knowledge that's not helpful anymore.
Like cleaning out the mental clutter.
Kind of. And there's another story about a super forecaster, Jean-Pierre Bughardy. His trick was treating his own forecasts almost like hunches, and then actively looking for reasons why they might be wrong.
Actively seeking disconfirming evidence. Back to that actively open-minded idea.
Yeah. And Kira Morell's quote you mentioned earlier is so good too. There's no benefit to me for being wrong for longer.
Right. It reframes the whole thing. The pain isn't being wrong. The pain is staying wrong when you can know better.
Exactly. Transforming that discomfort into motivation to learn.
So what's fascinating here is the idea of deliberately creating conditions of disconfirmation, like asking ourselves, okay, what would have to happen for me to change my mind about this?
That's a really powerful self-reflection exercise, isn't it? Actually defining what evidence would convince you otherwise.
Yeah. And the book even gives that example of the physicist Andrew Line, who admitted a huge mistake in his findings publicly.
And got a standing ovation for it.
Yeah. It shows that admitting you were wrong, that intellectual honesty can actually build respect, not destroy it.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it seems detaching our ego, embracing being wrong sometimes, and actively looking for flaws in our thinking. These are all crucial for, well, getting smarter, basically, for understanding things more accurately.
Okay, so wrapping this up, this deep dive into Think Again really highlights that adopting that scientist mindset, humility, doubt, curiosity, it's not about being weak-minded. It's actually fundamental for growth.
Yeah, it's not about flip-flopping constantly. It's about mental agility.
Yeah.
Be able to adapt your thinking as the world changes or as you learn more. Prioritizing getting it right over being right.
And for you, listening in, wanting to level up, wanting that growth, this ability to rethink, it's a serious advantage, maybe one we underestimate.
Definitely. Helps you spot opportunities others miss, adapt quicker to challenges.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. What's one belief you hold right now? Maybe a core assumption about your work, your life, anything that, if you really dared to question it, might unlock the biggest breakthrough for you?
That's a powerful question to sit with.
Yeah. We'd genuinely love to hear what resonated with you from this discussion, or maybe a belief you're starting to reconsider. Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Please do. And if this sparks something for you, maybe share it with someone else who's looking to level up their thinking too.
Absolutely. And don't forget to subscribe so you catch all our deep dives into the books and ideas that can really make a difference. Let's keep turning pages into power.
Until next time on The Deep Dive.